I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Brakata Yahweh. Brakata Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory. Kahaloyim Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachahakwadash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To you sisters, your Achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Ram Yahawada with a lesson. Right here it says Newsmax money, right? Guess that's from the news article, and it's telling Trump, Iran peace dividend, opening of new era of trade, stability, and prosperity, right? Because this is really a show, right, to all these people, because when you deal with this, they have the people who is in Iran. A lot of those top people are Freemasons as well. They're part of the Illuminati as well, right? So those real people die, or maybe even what you would call it, or they fake their death, which way they do it, right? It sparks, of course, emotions are real. So you hear someone die, oh my God, you're emotional, you're angry. So then people actually get hurt when they're shooting and bullets are flying. Though they orchestrate a lot of this, they can't prevent sometimes who gets hurt or who don't. Where they can, they do. Like I said, sometimes they pretend someone's unaliving, right? But this is all a stage, dude. Forgetting it's the world stage. So they're saying that it's gonna change the way they you trade, which we know where that's going, right? Right? Karak's, Graffle, right? That's exactly where it's going. And whether you know it or not, this is a thing that's gonna. The Lord said this is a thing that He's gonna use. It's gonna try the whole world, because if you think about it, if Russia and China is so-called against America so bad, it should be one part of the world you can go, and you would never have to worry about getting the Karak's Graffle, right? Because they're in beef with each other. It's one part of this world you can go, and you won't have to worry about 15-minute cities, right? But tell me why Russia is preparing for 15-minute cities, right? And China's down with the surveillance already. They're already ahead with the surveillance. Their thing is they're down with the mass micro sea hipping, right? So all these countries are down. Even Iran, they're down with the mass sea hipping and 15-minute cities, right? Yeah. So I just typed in right here Iran's 15-minute cities.
Iran is exploring the 15-minute city idea to boost urban sustainability. Studies focus on improving access to services in places like Tehran, Tabriz, and Hamidian and Rasht, aiming to reduce reliance on cars. However, challenges include poor infrastructure, limited cycling options, and unequal service access.
So this is a place where they're supposed to be beefing with each other. They have these things, and but here it is. America's building 15-minute cities, right? I believe it's supposed to be one right here in my backyard in Arizona, right? But they're supposed to be, and then you got Russia building 15-minute cities. So this is all to go into that Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? Even the whole fight, right? This was all a plan. Yeah, see, right here in my backyard, where I live at. Matter of fact, I went to Tempe High. I went to Tempe High. I graduated from Tempe High, right? So this is in Tempe, Arizona.
Cul-de-sac Tempe in Arizona is the first fully car-free 15-minute city in the U.S. This 17-acre community offers apartments, retail, and amenities like a grocery store, all designed to promote walking, biking, and public transportation, supporting a 15-minute lifestyle for its 1,000 residents.
Nah, and then, hey, the cool part about it is they're even naming it cul-de-sac Tempe. You know what a cul-de-sac is, right? It's just a little area like this. There's only one way in and one way out. Other than that, you stuck. It's a cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac Tempe. It's a 15-minute city for their 1,000 residents. So there's only one way in and one way out because it's literally a cul-de-sac. So you're entrapped. So when everything comes down to it, it seems cool right now. Everything ain't fully implemented. So, oh yeah, it's nice. I just took a little bike ride and I walked the dog and went to the store and came back. It was pretty cool. But wait till it's ultimate lockdown. You got curfews. You got all these things, and now you're gonna know that's really what's set up to be your prison, right? Yeah. So this is about Iber Pike, in World War III, which we all know about this already, but the brothers, I don't know if it's GMS Dallas or Carolina, or one of the brothers. They did these, this lesson. They did a great lesson and brought this out, and so I seen it, so I wanted to go ahead and just bring it out as well, right? Because it's befitting for these lessons, because it's all gonna, you got to know what's going on. The world is a stage, and that's what they're doing. Most of this is just a performance, but somewhere along the line, the Lord's gonna allow it to get serious, you know.
I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. Albert Pike was one of the most colorful characters in American history. It is said that he was born on December 29th, 1809 in Boston, was the eldest son of 6 children born to Benjamin and Sarah Andrew Pike. He studied at Harvard and later served as Brigadier General of the Confederate Army. After the Civil War, Pike was found guilty of treason and jailed, only to be pardoned by President Andrew Jackson on April 2nd, 1866, who met with him the next day at the White House. On June 20th, 1867, Scottish Rite officials conferred upon Johnson 32nd degree Freemasonry degrees. Pike was said to be a genius, able to read and write 16 languages. He was one of the founding fathers of the head of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, being the Grand Commander of North America Freemasonry from 1859, and retained that position until his death in 1891. In 1869, he was the top leader of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Pike was said to be a Satanist who indulged in the occult, and he apparently possessed a bracelet which he used to summon Lucifer, with whom he had constant communication. He was the Grand Master of a Luciferian group known as the Order of the Palladium, or of Sovereign Council of Wisdom, it's also been called, which had been founded in Paris in 1737. Now, General Albert Pike was the only Confederate general with a statue on federal property in Washington, D.C. He was honored not as a commander or even as a lawyer, but as Southern Regional Leader of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The statue stands on a pedestal near the foot of Capitol Hill between the Department of Labor building and the Municipal building between 3rd and 4th Streets on D Street Northwest. Now, I tell you all of this because it is said that he received a vision from his mentor, Mr. Lucifer, I guess, on August 15th, 1871. And William Guy Carr, former intelligence officer in the Royal Canadian Navy, wrote a book called Satan, Prince of this World, in which he gives this information. He said that he received this information from a book written by Cardinal Caro Rodriguez in Santiago, Chile, who wrote in 1925 a book called The Mystery of Freemasonry Unveiled. And in this book, in 1925, It is said that he wrote a letter to a man named Mazzini in which he described this dream. And in the dream, he predicted 3 world wars. The First World War, he said, must be brought about, and I'm quoting from Albert Pike. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of...
Stop it right there. See? So they already conquered Russia. Right? It says the first thing we need to do is get these czars from Russia. So they conquered Russia. So that now Russia's still the big bad bully. Right? No, they already conquered it. This is all part of the show. But see, what they don't understand is the Most High is the ultimate ultimate director, right? You know, he also is a writer, right? You know what I'm saying, and he already wrote the script, so he was, and they're just gonna fall right into the Most High's plans. But for them, this is all just, you got to understand what they're doing. This is all ceremonial. It's all part of a stage. It's all part of just a game that they're playing, pretty much. I mean, I'm pretty sure they take it serious, but it's their inside world, because they plan on, like I said, novos ordo seclorum. Hey, here you go.
The war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Now, students of history will know that Otto von Bismarck forged certain alliances between 1871 and 1898, which...
Yeah, to what? To confuse the religions, right? So ultimately, what they took the Bible, chopped it up, made the slave Bible, chopped it up some more, right? Taking the Apocrypha and all these other things out of it, feeding you so-called Christianity through a pagan lens. So why you have that thing attached to Easter and was it Christmas and all these other different things, and it's kind of intertwined with all these other pagan gods. So though it's like you're worshiping the true God, but you're also worshiping these pagan gods simultaneously without even really being aware if you don't do any studies, right?
Brought about this war, this World War I. And Otto von Bismarck here says that he was a co-conspirator with Albert Pike, and he was the one instrumental in bringing about the First World War. Well, that's the end of the war. Communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Now, students of history will know that Otto von Bismarck forged certain alliances between 1871 and 1898, which brought about this war, this World War I. And Otto von Bismarck here says that he was a co-conspirator with Albert Pike, and he was the one instrumental in bringing about the First World War. Well, that's...
So why do you need a co-conspirator to start a genuine war? Like if a genuine conflict, and we have this conflict, it's gonna organically happen, right?
The First World War. Then he dreams that there must be, he is given in this visionary dream, a Second World War. Now remember, this was in 1925 that it became public in this book written by a cardinal from Santiago, Chile, Rodriguez. He says, quote, the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism will be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Well, there are some who may argue that the terms Nazism and Zionism were not known in 1871. You should remember, however, that the Illuminati invented both of these movements. In addition, communism as an ideology and as a coined phrase originates in France during the Revolution. In 1785, Restif coined the phrase 4 years before the Revolution broke out. Restif and Babeuf, in turn, were influenced by Rosé, as was the most famous conspirator of them all, Adam Weishaupt.
Yep, Adam Weishaupt. Yep, yeah, and he's the one. Adam Weishaupt is the one who created the Illuminati, which the Illuminati was created in 1776. So when you're flying that American flag and you're thinking 1776 is representative of America, no, that 1776 is a representation of when the Illuminati got a hold of America, right? That's what that is.
Has this vision, in this vision, not only one world war and two world wars, but here comes the third world war. He says, and I quote, "The third world war must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world." Yeah, that's what he says.
And then they were saying they're going to use Christianity until the time of the Third World War. But what they wasn't planning on happening is the Most High waking up the elect, or the hopeful elect, which will be the elect ultimately, right? Many are called, few are chosen. Ultimately, he woke up the elect, right?
The war. This was 1925. Please understand that. At least 1925. May go all the way back to 1871, as is purported to do, but at least it was written in a book and published in 1925. So he says, after World War I was just over a few years, and before World War II even started, he's now thinking about this Third World War, and it says that it will be caused by the differences between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin and savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So he's against Christianity and he's against atheism. They're supposed to fight each other to the death, you see. Then, he says, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will, from that moment, be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's what he says.
All right, listen up. Washington state legislators have passed a law that literally makes it illegal for a boss to microchip you as a condition of employment. I'm Matthew Brown, and I'm a labor and employment attorney. So what am I talking about? Well, it seems the rise of AI and other technologies is moving lawmakers to start thinking about the future. And no, I'm not talking about tracking badges or wearables. I'm talking about subdermal microchips, like the ones in pets, implanted under a person's skin. And lawmakers in Washington state want to ban it before it even becomes a thing. That's right. If a company requests, requires, or even coerces an employee to get a chip under their skin, it could be criminal and civil trouble. Fines are harsh. Minimum $10,000 for a first offense, and penalties go up after that. Plus, workers can sue for actual and punitive damages. Imagine a future where employers could track your body like livestock, but Washington state says not on their watch. And yes, there are 0 known companies in the United States doing this yet. That's exactly why this bill exists, and other states will likely follow suit. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to follow me for more labor and employment insights.
Yeah, so basically, you can, as you can see, these are plans of the elites. These Freemasons, these Illuminati, going all the way back into the, basically the shadow government, whoever really runs this place, whatever families that really run the world, who's in the stewardship of this world, right? Well, because it says Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and this is what part of their plans, and that's what Albert Pike was one of the ones, but what they ain't realizing is it correlates with the plans of the Most High. And so at the end it says, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. So really what you're doing, the Lord is laughing at it. Why? Because this is the Lord declared the end from the beginning. So while you're doing all these plans, and this person wrote this book, and this person wrote this book, and then so on and so forth, and then you have all these talking heads and puppets, and then the puppet masters, and they're fulfilling the will to bring everything to where it needs to be at today, as far as Donald J. Trump striking Iran, and then thinking that it was only going to take a week. Thinking it was only going to take a couple of days. Then it went from days to weeks to now they're talking 6 months to there's going to be and then you're never coming back. You're never going to come back. You're at the end of your era, your age, your rulership, right? And your empire is at its end, 250 years, fulfilling Bible prophecy, pushing forth the micro C hip. So we know that we're at the end. We're at the end. This is all the things that the Lord said that He was going to declare from the beginning. And it says, and that's what I'm saying, because ultimately, the Lord is what He's just laughing at you and your plans. Like the brother Thawalai always said that too. If you want to get a chuckle out of the Lord, tell him your plans, and that's ultimately what Esau's been doing. Making all these plans, and it says, and Yahweh, right? He sitteth in the heavens. Yahweh Shai sits in the heavens. So it says, the Lord shall have them in derision. See, and ultimately that's where you're at. You're completely in derision. Then shall He speak, which that's what He's going to do. He's going to send His only begotten Son to come back to judge, right? Speaking, how is He going to speak? Unto them in His what? In His wrath. That's how He's going to speak, in judgment and in wrath, and vex them in His sore displeasure. Because hey, all your plans that you're making, and then ultimately that you're coming up against the children of Israel, right? The Lord is displeased with it, right? You're ultimately pushing the micro C hip. The Lord, well, it's part of His plans, but it doesn't change that you're wicked in what you're pushing, right? Yeah. So this is Psalms chapter 59, verse 8. But thou, O Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, shall laugh. See? Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai shall laugh at them, right? You Edomites, right? Starting with you Edomites, but really all of you heathens. Thou shall have what? All the heathen in derision, right? And that's what this is all about. This whole Albert Pike and all you guys are all really in cahoots, because you're all building your 15-minute cities and you're all planning for global micro C hip Novos Autosoclorium takeover, right? This is the plans. So all of you are with it. You're on one consent, right? It says, because of His strength will I wait upon thee, right? Because these heathens, yeah, y'all got the military, y'all got these different militaries, y'all got all this thing, y'all have everything. So because of your strength, I have no choice but to wait upon thee for power. For thee, for power is my defense. I will wait upon thee for power, right, for the Most High, for my God, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, is my defense, right? So I'm gonna wait on the Lord. He's my defense. It says, and the power of the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, the power of mercy, of my mercy, shall prevent me, and the Most High, Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, shall let me see my desire upon my enemies. See, he said, only thou shall see the what? The reward of the wicked, right? Yeah. Same verse, Psalms 59. Just gonna skip down to 13, right? It says, consume them in wrath, consume them that they may not be, right? Not exist anymore, right? Let them know that the Most High, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai ruleth in what? In Jacob, right? Yasha Allah, right? Right? All 12 tribes, right? So you try to not let us know who we are. You try to keep us from our power. You try to keep us from the name. You try to keep us from the understanding. But through the Holy Spirit, we have gotten the understanding, right? And we know who we are. And our power, he's going to let you know, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah HaKodash, ruleth in Jacob, Yaiquab, which basically ultimately he wrestled with an angel and his name got changed to Yasha Allah, right? And he's our power unto the ends of the earth, Salah. Yeah. So you're gonna have to meditate on that. Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 46, verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am the most high, right? The power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachah HaKodash, and there is none else. I am the most high power, Yahweh. Why Yahweh Shai? And there is none like me. You gotta remember that. See, but the whole thing is what? The Most High is not in all your thoughts. You know, it's an afterthought. Oh yeah, there we go again. There's those black Hebrew Israelites speaking about this God again that, doesn't seem to exist because I think he forgot them. They're still in the ghettos, the vadios, and the reservations. Nothing's happening except for prophecy. It says declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, right? The things that are not yet done, right? And there's a lot, especially when you do, because that's why you can't say the Old Testament is done away with. There's things that the Lord spoke about and is not yet done, even in the Old Testament. You got stuff that's in the New Testament the Lord spoke about that hasn't been done. But even in the New Testament, you got things that he spoke about that's in the New Testament, that's even in Revelations, that's been done. But then you got things that hasn't been done, as well as in the Old Testament. There's things that's already been done in the Old Testament, but there's things that haven't been done in the Old Testament, showing you that he has control over this whole thing, right? And there's a major thing that's about to come past, that's coming to pass as we speak. Whoa. we're basically gonna have what? Well, you're on the brink of World War III, right? It's a small mini. It's basically the World War III now, because you got all these bunch of these other countries that's all involved. So it's a small scale, which is going to uptick into the major World War III. But it's basically World War III. At the end of the day, there's no way else to cut it. There's many different countries right now are all battling and warring right now because of this strike that America done against Iran, which happens to be Persia, which is gonna get defended by Gog of Magog, right? No, which is no Rosh Shah, right? Rosh. Shar, yeah, Shar, Rush, was it Chief? Rush, yeah, Rush, which is Chief. Shar, meaning Prince, which is Russia. Chief Prince, is going to be defended. Salakia, yeah, from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall, there you go, shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, because the Lord said he was displeasure, he had displeasure in you, but that's why what the Lord, Yahweh Shai's pleasure is going to be done, right? Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 41, verse 4, who have wrought and done it. See, and that who wrought and done it. It's the Most High, Yahweh. Yahweh done all these things, right? See, you're making plans and you're writing books and you're saying that it needs to be this World War and the Second World War. Well, that's in the Bible. That's in the Scriptures, right? You ain't knowing that the Lord planned and told you the end from the beginning, right? You know, and done it, calling the generations, right? The Lord called the generations from the beginning. So you already knew what generation was going to do this, and then this generation was going to do that, unto the infinite amount of whatever, how many ever hundreds of millions and millions or whatever generations was to come and die and then be reincarnated and then come and then be reincarnated unto this very moment where you have Esau on top. His world is about to go out, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, as Yaquab held fast the hill of Ashashua, which is the end of his world and the beginning of it that followeth, which is Yasha'Allah, right? So it says I, Yahweh, right? The first and with the last I am he. So Lord, that's it. He's it. He's the infinite. He's already did everything with the first generation, with the last generation. He's already all of it's all set up and measured for its rise, its fall, its dominion, its blessing, its curses. Everything is all set up, man. Right? And ain't nothing you could do about it. Right? You know. See, but this guy, with all these elites, they think it's all a game. They're all playing this game, and they think it's going to work out. They're just being, they're being the so-called square men, square women, uh, uh, illuminated ones that they are, right? But they're going to find out what they're finding out, and they're going to find out in very soon that the Lord ultimately wrote what World War I and World War II and World War III and what it was going to be and what His pleasure is, right? It's all about Yahweh Shai's pleasure, right? Yeah. So this is Genesis chapter 3, verse 14, because the Lord look from the very beginning. That's what Genesis means, because ultimately this is just a big battle between Jacob and Esau, which that's how we understand that the spiritual demon Satan is your father, and that spirit that was in the serpent of this time returned in the generations. That same spirit came into Cain, which in turn in generations later came back into Esau, which infested your whole lineage, which are the Edomites, right? And it says, and Yahweh, the Most High Power, said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, right? Deceived Eve, right? Thou art cursed above all cattle and above all beasts of the field, right? And the Lord speaks about basically, um, the like men being like beasts, right? And it's basically speaking of the nations, right? And you're going to be the only nation without repentance, right? So that's how you're going to be cursed above all the cattle and all the beasts, because you're going to be the only one that's Obadiah 1:18, right? That's no longer going to be in existence. Matter of fact, let me get that. Yeah, here it is. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 18. And I say in my heart, right? La'ab, your mind, concerning the estate of the sons of men, right? Basically all mankind, right? That the that the power might magnify them, right? Which, yeah, yeah, yeah. You go through different things. So the Lord manifests, right? A realization, a clearing of your mind, understanding, right? That they might see that they themselves are what are beasts. See, so that's basically what that was speaking about. So it's talking about all the different nationalities, the peoples, nations, peoples in different tongues. But I believe at that time everybody spoke one tongue. That was the Paleo Hebrew, right? But every person was these it was understood. The Lord was breaking it down as basically different cattle and animals, right? They're supposed to be metaphoric, not for you to actually um to put that into reality. And now you're trying to micro C hip everyone and then basically count them as cattle. That's not what it's meant to be. Yeah, so basically that's what that is going into. It's talking about the different nations, right? And they're going to curse. They're going to be Obadiah 1:18, cursed above all the beasts, above all the cattle, and above all of every beast of the field, which speaking all over around the world. The only nation that has no mercy, right? Which is the Edomites. It says, upon thy belly shall thus go, and dust shall thus eat all the days of thy life, right? Going back to the time that they were in the caves. They used to have to crawl around in the dark in the caves, especially when they were in the Caucasus Mountains. But they came from the caves anyway, from Mount Seir. But the place where they were the low, where they were just crawling on the dust and had to grunt. It says that they made noise like a ass. It was the time that they were in the Caucasus Mountains, right? When they got pushed into the caves. And that time, that's Job 30, I believe it is. It speaks about them. They cried out to them as a thief, man, because that's all you ever did. You're thieves, and people want to keep you from around them. Even now, every country they don't want you around, because everybody eventually finds out you're just a thief, and you cause everybody's life to be hell, right? And it says yeah, and what goes into dust goes into the confusion, right? A lot of confusion. Because at one point in time, during the time before you went to the Caucasus Mountains, you were ruling over Rome. You could speak several different languages. For an example, they crucified our Lord, and they wrote in 3 languages: in Hebrew, in Greek, and in Latin, the King of the Jews, showing that they had this intelligence. But being pushed into the Caucasus Mountains when the Western Roman Empire fell, they had the dust. They were all upon their bellies with confusion, unable to deceive the world until the 1,000 years were to be fulfilled, that they can return and deceive the world again. It says, and I will put enmity, which means to be enemies, between thee and the woman,
right, which meaning represents Israel, right? And between thy seed and her seed, meaning the children, the generations, sent generations down the line, because a woman don't have seed, because it just said that he's the power who sets the beginning of generations. So he's saying this, that each generation I'm gonna set up, and this generation you're gonna be against each other, so on and so forth. But at the very end, you're gonna push this. You're gonna push this micro hip. You're gonna go into World War III. You're gonna go against Persia, even though you try to hide the name. Now everybody know that this is Persia. Everybody know that this is dealing with Ezekiel 38. At this point, most people do. So, well, a lot of people do. I'm gonna say most, but because a lot of people are still ignorant. But it's getting there, and it's showing you that this is the end. So, yeah, you're enmity. So, and now that you're there, now we're at the time of World War III. We're at the time that you have to push the micro hip, right? Between the woman and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, right? Being the time of the Roman Empire, right? Shall bruise thy head, right? The Roman Empire went down. It was one with the deadly wound that was healed. It was bruised, but it got healed and returned and came back as the Roman Empire, as the Greco-Roman, the new revised Greco-Roman Empire, being the NATO, EU, and America, right? The Treaty of Rome, all these things that you're having right now, right? And it says, and thou shall bruise his heel, being what? You hung our Lord on the cross, and it's not necessarily the heel, but you took his 2 feet and put them together and put a nail through his feet, meaning basically his heel, right? So you bruised his heel. So yes, so this is Exodus chapter 17, verse 16. For he said, because Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, swore that Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kalkadash will have war with Amalek, right? Amalek is the grandson of Esau, which Amalek is the chief of the nations, the international bankers, basically the hey, well, they are the Illuminati. They are the Masons, right? I'm saying they control it, they fund it, manipulate it, do all those things, right? From generation to generation, so showing you that what the Most High said. He set up all these generations, and each generation that you're gonna have this conflict, this inner hatred towards his sons, which are the sons of God, which you being the sons of the wicked, and then you got the sons of man, and everybody was gonna have these this is gonna affect the world, right? But ultimately, what Esau's the end of the world, right? Which that's what Amalek is, Edomite, right? And Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So all this conflict between the woman, which is Israel or Yasha, and the seed of the serpent, which is Esau, all this was going to come, and the world was going to be affected by it. The two major characters within this story, right? Yeah, I mean, Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 9, Esau, right? Basically, that's what you end up being. That's who you are. You're Esau, but your descendants are the Edomites. Esau became Edom. For Esau is the end of the world, right? So you're on top, you're ruling, doing all these different things. You're making these decisions based on your hatred for the Israelites, and then your obsession to get the blessing back, and then basically to keep the rule over the earth. But it's over the earth you're destroying. You're polluting it. You pollute the water. You disforest the trees. I don't know why you want to rule it. Like, it doesn't even make sense anymore.
You know, it doesn't make sense for you to rule a world that obviously you hate, because, who does that unless you hate it? You can't possibly love the planet. You possibly can't love rulership. But then, I mean, obviously you do. You don't want to give it up. So your thing is you're gonna fight the Lord, and this is your way to fight the Lord. You're gonna you're gonna do these certain things that Albert Pike got from Satan, which really he got from the Lord, right? So Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob, which is Yaquab, which wrestled with an angel, became Israel, or in the Paleo Hebrew, Yasharallah, is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is between the heel and the hand, right? So when Jacob and Esau was born, Jacob's hand held fast the heel of Esau. So this is basically innuating that, showing you that's as soon as Esau goes down, immediately Jacob's going to rule right after. That's basically what this is saying, right? It's not going to be no like a delay. It's not going to be a delay within the rulership. You know what I mean? Which kind of went like that during the Roman Empire, right? The Western Roman Empire fell, but the Eastern Roman Empire still was there. That was Jake, and they were the known as Caesars, right? And that 1,000 years that you got pushed into the Caucasus Mountains, and yet the dust, the confusion, you know what I mean? And you doing the grunting, right? Where you couldn't deceive the world anymore, as it tells you in Revelation 20, right? For that 1,000 years, that's when Jake was ruling, what they call the Dark Ages, which that's why they can't tell you what really went on during that time, because they don't want to give so-called black people the credit for building all those beautiful castles and all that stuff that's in Europe. They want you to believe those are all Edomites, so-called self-proclaimed white people that built all those things. That's why they don't want to tell you about the Middle Ages and all that other stuff, or the Dark Ages, or whatever they want to call it. And but this time, it wants to be, yeah, it's just gonna just continue right into Yaquab winning. But this time, Yahweh Shai is gonna be there, King David's gonna be there, and it's gonna be forever and ever and ever and ever. Like, so it's just gonna, yeah. Others questions Ezra asks that thus or thou not. Yeah, because it's not an S. Thou not acts thou not. Yeah. So Salakia. But yeah, and that's what it is, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 9, verse 11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, right? Satan, right? Satan's the angel of the bottomless pit, right? Yeah, basically, I know it's, yeah, talking about Europe, right? Because Europe is a bottomless pit. It's they constantly need resources from other places, because there's no resources there. So they're they have to get everything imported, and they don't really create anything. I guess cars, that's about it, right? Food and other stuff don't come from there, So yeah, it's the bottomless pit, which is Europe. But then, for whatever reason, America started fashioning themselves like Europe, when there's plenty that America could have done. There's still, well, it would have been factories and things that they had, and there's still oil fields and there's still mines and stuff here. Still mines. There's still, yeah, steel. You can still be making steel here, steel and concrete. But I mean, there's a few of those jobs still, but they mostly giving them away to other countries. You know, different factories, shoe factories, and telephone, and you gave it all away to become like Europe to become like the bottomless pit for whatever reason. I have no idea. But whose name in the Hebrew tongue is it was Ab Adon Dun Abaddon. Yeah, because that's actually not Hebrew really like that, but Ab Adon Abaddon. But in the Greek tongue, have his name Apollyon, right? Which is says verse 12 says the one woe, which we know that that's what a judgment, right? One woe, which this is what Albert Pike wanted, right? The one woe, which one woe meaning what World War One is past. See, and that's how fast it's already. Look, we're already speaking about it because the Lord said He's going to speed up the times. One woe has passed, and behold, there are two woes, right? World War One, World War Two, and then World War Three. So there's two woes more hereafter. So this is what Albert Pike wanted, right? But guess what? It's in the Bible. This is what Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai wanted, right? See, and people you can speak all, the Bible is this and that, and the devil and this and that, and other people, and they can what do they call? What they say they can manipulate the Bible, and you could do that, and you could no, you cannot do that. The Bible has a spirit, and then yeah, if you fall for someone who has a deceitful spirit, and then you get misled by the deceitful spirit, yeah, that's your own fault. That's you're falling out after seducing ways, because really it's not just the seducing spirit. It's basically based on the things you want to hear, right? You don't want to hear America's going to be destroyed. You don't want to hear the Edomites are going to be destroyed. You don't want to hear that Edomites are the self-proclaimed so-called white men. You don't want to hear that the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, the ones who are downtrodden, the ones who are at the bottom, the ones in the ghettos, the vadios, the reservations. Even you understand that the first shall be last and the last shall be first, and you'll go, amen. But who's last and who's first? Who's on top? They tell you in the scriptures, I believe it's in Numbers. Amalek is the first of all the nations, which we've already understood. Amalek is an Edomite. You Edomites are ruling through this ruling class of this Edomites, who's being able to rule over Disney and Hollywood and the record execs and the companies and the military and the governments and not just in America, the governments in Canada, ruling over the government, even in Mexico. The lady is a small hat. The president of Mexico is a small hat. She's Amalek, right? You got them in Australia. I'm saying pretty much every place on the planet, and then even America has what is it? There 800 or so military bases everywhere, showing you that the Edom man they rule over this entire world. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and you're ruling at this time. So Esau, you're the end of this world, right? So basically, yeah, this is just the whole thing. The power of the Most High. He just laughs at this because really, you're making all these plans, you're writing these books, but the book of all books, the book that's been sold, misquoted, overlooked, underread, right? Never studied the right way, but then studied the right way because of the elders and their elders, right? And the spirit of the Lord has entered back into the earth through those elders, right? And I would have to say it's great millstone, right? I mean, really, like you say, this great millstone is just a name, but those men who have the right thing say that they're great millstone. I mean, hey, just giving credit where credit is due, right? There's a certain spirit that comes with this, right? And Lord willing, hey, I could be part of that number too, But it says, and the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city, right, being Babylon, which is America, fell, right? And the 10 FEMA regents, 10 FEMA, what is it? How they go? 10 FEMA, they have the rescue, whatever, however they go, FEMA codes that they have for America, right? And that earthquake is going to be the ICBM missiles, right? Right? Nuclear heads, because each thing has several nuclear warheads coming out of a warhead, right? It says earthquake, where the slain of the men, 7,000, 7 meaning completion, and the remnant were affrighted, which would be the elect. The remnant were affrighted and gave glory unto the power of the Most High Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai of heaven, right? Because simultaneously, this place is going to be destroyed. The elect is going to be saved simultaneously as the ICBM missiles are hitting the intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic, Poseidon, and whatever else they got. The 60-1 that China has. Everything this is about to hit this place. Why? Because we're entering into that time very soon, because they're pushing forth the micro C-HIP, which because the Lord had pushed that. Matter of fact, let's just, I'll go to just real quick before I end. I'll do that right now after this. So the second woe, right? Because we already went to first woe, the World War I. Second woe, right, which is World War II, is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly, and now we're at the third woe, right? So everything's set on the stage, right? Esau got his military and all the so-called blackest cities in America to come against Jake. He's in World War III. They pushing the micro C-HIP. They already putting in which that's like a what do you call that? Reverse psychology type of thing. Because he just said, if you listen to it, he said that there's no reason to have the ballot because there's no companies speaking about it. But we're going to put it on the ballot for future reference. And then we're speaking against it. So it's almost like it's already like a Jedi mind trick. And then ultimately it's even it's like that polar thing too, because they're already so-called putting the ballot out against it. So that way you already have the people who's so-called against it, and then you eventually somebody's going to have to say, hey, well, we're for it. Because really nothing should ever be talked about it. If you're talking about something that no one's talking about and then saying this is major news, it's kind of crazy. But it is major news. It's going to be, because say you don't vote or say you don't say nothing, then it get passed and everybody has to get the micro C-HIP anyway. But if you say something, now something's going to happen. So now it's going to be on legislation, and now you just open a can of worms. But because the way they're doing it, either which way, this thing, it's going to happen the way that the Lord wanted it to be, right? Third woe, second woe, World War II is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he called us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he, no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, Karagma Karax Grapho, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And that's how you're going to have it, right? You have the micro C-HIP, which will be, we just said implanted, which when it's implanted, it has to have a delivery system, which is the needle. That's the Karax. The Karagma, it is in itself is the mark, the Karagma, right? Then Karax, the delivery system. Grapho is the little, what do they call it? Like a motherboard having the information. your name, date of birth, so on and so forth, all your information, your company name, where to download your digital money or whatever it would be to pay you, whether it's universal basic income or you actually have a job, if you get a job, because that's what he's saying. He's saying AI is such a big deal that you're worried about employers micro-hipping you, but they're telling you they're going to take away your jobs. So why are you worried about? And then he's saying that there's no jobs implementing this as a thing. So it's not even a thing. You know what I'm saying? But then they're telling you they're going to take away all your jobs through the AI. But then at the same time telling you, because of AI, your boss is going to want to micro-hip you. Hey, bro, Jedi mind trick, polar, was it, yeah. Basically the polar opposite. They're going to, this whole thing, because if, like I said, if you don't say something, they could just pass it through, what is it, Congress or whatever. Oh, pass. No one voted. No one said anything. No one, which they're going to do it anyway. But regardless, they have to make it seem like it was a choice of the people or it got voted on, and this is the results of we the people, right? Right? Like they do with your president. Because at this point, the dude should, before this dude even shot off one missile in Iran, this dude should have been already up for impeachment for the Epstein joint. He should have been already out of there. But you people let this guy go over there. Now your gas, your food. You're talking about what Biden did. This is going to be far beyond what Biden ever did. Then on top of that, they're firing everybody because of AI. And then telling you that, hey, by the way, because of AI, you need to get subdermally implanted. Hey, call Loyum Yahweh Bashem Kadash, right? Hallelujah, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai. Yeah, so with all that, I will give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops of Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners, who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, Shuachwathim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, Kwam Yasharallah. Shalom, shalom.